Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm Bill Thomas and here's a preview of some of today's stories. A woman who once identified as transgender shares her story with NTD. After receiving a double mastectomy as a teenager, she regretted the decision and is now suing the medical providers involved in the surgery. This may look like a road leading to the ocean, but it's an area in California's Central Valley that has become submerged from recent floodwaters. And a farmer is being hailed a pioneer for how he helps his crops survive months of drought. A little extra water during the wet months goes a long way in keeping crops alive during the dry months. First, we hear from a California woman who once identified as transgender. She had both of her healthy breasts removed when she was just 13. She later regretted the decision and is now suing those responsible. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the story.
Layla Jane experienced a lot of mental health issues from as far back as she can remember.
I experienced suicidal ideation from a really young age, like first grade, ever since I understood the concept of death. I would sob so hard sometimes as a young child, I would start throwing up and gagging.
She also felt different from the kids around her.
Yeah, I felt a really strong disconnect from other girls. I still do. I just didn't really feel like one of them. I kind of felt this way though about boys too. I didn't really feel like one of them either.
Having seen stories of famous transgender people like Caitlyn Jenner online, Layla decided to visit a therapist at a transgender clinic when she was 11.
And she really just kind of sat back and said, okay, you're not the first trans person to come through my office. You're not going to be the last. You know, this is normal. This happens. And she really just affirmed. She didn't ask any meaningful questions as a, why do you feel like this? Why do you want to make these changes? What prompted this? Is there something underlying? Maybe there's some underlying trauma that could be fueling this.
Layla was given birth control pills to stop her menstruation and was eventually referred to Dr. Susan Watson at the Kaiser Permanente Transgender Clinic in Oakland.
And she got the ball rolling for me to get on puberty blockers. Eventually testosterone, and eventually a double mastectomy.
Layla says little attention was paid to her mental health.
I had nobody else looking at the mental side of things. I didn't have consistent therapy with the local therapist. That wasn't required, so I just didn't do it.
She says she had a couple of appointments with Dr. Watson, who did discuss the long-term effects.
You know, I was a child, and I don't think I really fully understood the permanence and everything. I mean, you don't let a kid at that age smoke, drink, get a tattoo, vote, drive. But I was allowed to do that.
Layla suffered nerve damage, multiple other side effects, and faces possible infertility. She no longer identifies as transgender. Her legal team is accusing her medical providers of grossly and recklessly breaching the standard of care and failing to adequately assess and treat her complex array of mental health symptoms. They're also accusing Kaiser Permanente of coercing Layla and her parents with the threat of suicide. NTD reached out to Kaiser Permanente but did not receive a response. We asked Layla if she has any advice for those in a similar situation as she was.
Really, just to slow down. Make sure you get your mental health checked. There's no rush to do this. You know, I've met so many people who transition as adults, and they're honestly, if anything, more passable. They're happier. They're more mentally stable because they made this choice as an adult.
Layla says she has no interest in seeing fewer trans people, but she would like to see less people who have to detransition, adding that it's not an easy route. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
California is still facing repercussions from Mother Nature. New footage shows a region in the state's agricultural valley submerged in floodwaters.
This is Tulare County, California, showing the scale of flood devastation amid a bomb cyclone lashing the state. Footage from Wednesday shows roads and crops almost completely underwater in California's Central Valley, a major agricultural area. In recent weeks, California's extreme weather has forced thousands of residents to evacuate their homes. Last week, some 12,000 people, mostly in Tulare County, were placed under an evacuation order as high water from recent levee breaches flooded a number of communities. With the onset of rain, there may be a possible revival of the extinct Tulare Lake. It was drained in the late 19th and early 20th centuries as water from feeding rivers were used for agriculture. The Tulare Lake was once the largest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi River and has reemerged in previous years due to downpours. And the Santa Cruz Mountains were pelted by a hailstorm Wednesday as a low-pressure system churns off the Golden State. The Weather Service issued a statement for the Santa Cruz Mountains as well as the San Francisco Peninsula, Oakland, and Berkeley, warning of strong winds, rain, and hail.
While most floods can be devastating, some can be helpful. One farmer is being hailed a pioneer for successfully keeping his crops alive during the drought. He floods his fields to replenish the groundwater and uses the water the next time the drought affects his fields.
In 2011, Don Cameron intentionally flooded Terra Nova Ranch, pumping excess stormwater onto his fields.
We started doing this. Our neighbors thought we were absolutely crazy. Everyone we talked to thought we would kill the crop. And lo and behold, believe me, it turned out great, but I was out there every day watching to see if there were any symptoms, any problems showing up in the wine grapes that we flooded back in 2011. But we proved we could do it.
Today, California water experts see Cameron as a pioneer. His experiment to control flooding and replenish the groundwater has become a model that policymakers say others should emulate.
So we have been taking floodwater when it's become available during the flood years. The first year was 2011. We did it again in 2017 and then again in 2019. But we really didn't have the infrastructure built and in place to really capture the large amounts of floodwater that do come by our farm here.
Cameron grows wine grapes, almonds, walnuts, pistachios, olives, and other crops on his 6,000-acre farm in the San Joaquin Valley, the heart of California's $50 billion agricultural industry. With the drought-stricken state suddenly inundated by a series of rainstorms, California's outdated infrastructure has let much of the stormwater drain into the Pacific Ocean. Cameron estimated his operation returns 8,000 to 9,000 acre-feet of water back to the ground monthly during this exceptionally wet year. That would be enough water for 16,000 to 18,000 urban households in a year.
We felt that this was important, not only to our farm, but for neighboring farms. We know that long-term we need to be sustainable. We need to get our aquifer in better shape than it is currently. And we know that we'll have additional droughts in the future and probably more extreme droughts and more extreme floods. So we are prepared. We are ready to capture floodwater when it does come.
The State Department of Water Resources provided $5 million and Terra Nova another $8 million for the project, which includes a pumping system.
Actually, this year will be the first year that we've got a big canal in place. We have a large pump in place that can pump 67,000 gallons a minute. And we know that when these flood flows do come, we'll need to capture quickly, spread the water on our fields that we've dedicated for recharge. This project took over 10 years from start to finish.
If more farmers could inundate their fields rather than divert precipitation into flood channels, that excess could seep underground and get stored for when drought conditions return. Cameron said his farm's basins are currently filled with 1.5 to 3.5 feet of water. He plans to eventually flood his land only when excess floodwater is available. Cameron said, so far, there has been virtually zero return for the company. It may acquire future water rights for its groundwater contributions.
We'll take a short break now, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Senator Dianne Feinstein announced her retirement last month, and several current congressional representatives are eyeing her seat for the 2024 elections. But one high-profile congressman says he's not interested. A prank gone wrong sent an unsuspecting mother to the hospital. She's now taking to Facebook to warn others about the dangers of social media pranks. And a healthcare provider from Southern California shares what it's like owning a larger than average sized cat. The furry companion has grown to be the size of a small child. That and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, Bill Thomas. A man in Fresno County, California was arrested 10 times over the course of 31 days. According to the Clovis Police Department, 38-year-old Keith Chastain faces 18 felony and 15 misdemeanor counts. Charges include 6 counts of grand theft auto, vandalism, DUI, possession of a controlled substance, fraud, and more. On his 10th arrest, police caught Chastain driving a stolen truck in Old Town Clovis. Authorities say he was on his way to the police station to pick up his personal property in a stolen vehicle. And over the weekend, Democratic Representative Khanna announced that he will not be running for U.S. Senate. The announcement comes shortly after Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein announced her retirement.
California Representative Khanna announced last Sunday that he will not be running for the newly vacated Senate seat. Instead, he will endorse fellow Democratic Representative Barbara Lee for the seat. Khanna made his announcement on CNN's State of the Union and said the House was the best place to advance his progressive policies. He says, quote, "I have concluded that despite a lot of enthusiasm from Bernie Sanders folks, the best place, the most exciting place, action place, fit place for me to serve as a progressive is in the House of Representatives." This comes as U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein announced her retirement in February. She has held the seat for 30 years and will not be seeking re-election after her term concludes in 2024. On February 1st, Lee announced her bid for the 2024 Senate race. She will be joining both Democratic Representatives Adam Schiff and Katie Porter, who have also announced their run for the seat. Khanna says he will be co-chairing Lee's campaign.
While shopping for baby supplies at Target, a new mother became the recent victim of a social media prank. Following the prank, the mother ended up being hospitalized after she fainted.
Tustin resident and new mother of twins, Lena Clay Monaghan, is the latest victim of a social media prank. But in her case, the prank led to her hospitalization. She was shopping at her local Target for baby supplies when a group of teenagers placed a bucket over her head and began using their phones to record her reaction. Videos online on platforms such as TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram have been surfacing recently with similar pranks where unsuspecting shoppers are targeted. Clay Monaghan, who has epilepsy, says she ultimately fainted after removing the bucket. She was then transported to a local emergency room where she was treated. She says she suffered issues with her heart due to the shock of the attack. On Monday, Clay Monaghan took to Facebook to bring awareness to these pranks. She posted, "I feel that it is important for the public to be aware of the potential dangers of social media and the harmful consequences of thoughtless actions. No one should have to experience what I went through." According to a March 27th press release by the Tustin police, the 4 male teenagers that fled were captured on store surveillance cameras with a bucket around the time of the incident. The department is asking anyone with more information to contact Detective Schaller at 714-573-3245.
The Los Angeles County Metro Board says it wants to create a hub for homeless services at a local subway station. But some community members in Long Beach are pushing back on the Metro Board's proposal. Residents are calling on public officials to find a different solution to help the county's growing homeless population.
The Los Angeles County Metro Board plan has gained criticism from some Long Beach community members. The Metro Board planned to create a hub for homeless services at one of its local Metro subway stations. County officials requested during a Metro Board meeting this month that the Metro's staff explore 2 stations for the proposed homeless services hub. The stations under consideration are the Wardlow and Willow stations, both located in Long Beach's Wrigley neighborhood. Los Angeles County Supervisor Janice Hahn authored the current motion. The proposal was sponsored by 3 other board members, including Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. Consideration for a homeless hub first emerged last October. Residents and business owners had expressed frustration about homeless people exiting trains in the middle of the night. According to county officials, a new homeless hub would potentially provide showers, phone charging stations, and housing services for the homeless population. However, the Wrigley Association, a nonprofit representing Wrigley neighborhood residents and local business owners, opposes the homeless hub. They said such a hub would further burden an already underserved community. Association spokesperson Alejandra Gutierrez said, bringing in a number of people nightly that require aid is just going to decimate the minimal resources this area already has. Instead, the group is urging the city of Long Beach and other officials to find another solution.
The California State University education system plans to rescind its COVID-19 vaccine mandates. School officials say the change is in line with Governor Gavin Newsom's decision to end the state of emergency for COVID-19.
The California State University, or CSU, system intends to remove its COVID-19 vaccine mandates for students, faculty, and staff. The system's HR and Labor Relations offices determined it will, quote, no longer require students to be fully vaccinated for COVID-19. The college's plan to cancel its mandate follows Governor Gavin Newsom's February announcement ending the state's COVID-19 state of emergency. The push for colleges to require COVID vaccines began in 2021. More than 1,000 colleges had vaccination mandates by September 2022. The CSU system implemented its vaccine mandates for the fall 2021 semester and currently requires a booster shot to be compliant. The controversial mandate was immediately met with a series of protests across some CSU campuses. Students from Cal State Fullerton and 3 Chico State students filed a federal lawsuit in June 2021 against the policy.
And we have a cute story to wrap up the night. Like all pets, cats come in different shapes and sizes. While the average house cat is about 2.5 feet long, one furry feline has grown to be double that size. Let's meet Finn, the giant cat from Southern California.
Finn the cat has grown to be 4.3 feet long, twice the size of a regular house cat. That makes him roughly the average height of a 9-year-old child. He is so big that many people mistake the enormous Maine Coon for a dog. Finn's owner, Natalie Bowman, a healthcare provider from San Carlos, California, adopted him in 2017 when he was just 3.5 months old. Natalie often walks Finn through their neighborhood on a leash, and he has now become a local celebrity. Natalie told the Epic Times, "It's really funny. They think he's a dog, and then when they get closer, they say, 'Oh my God, it's a cat,' and they love him." The cat's large size makes him an expensive pet to maintain. Finn gets fed 3 or 4 times a day, and Natalie spends $150 a month on his food. Despite his size, Finn is a gentle giant and gets along splendidly with Natalie's other cat. She says Finn is a very sociable cat and he loves to talk.
Now to NTD's Carlos Reyes for an update on sports.
I'm Carlos Reyes, taking you through the California Today Sports Roundup.
Malik Monk scored 19 points off the bench, and the Sacramento Kings finally ended the longest playoff drought in NBA history with a victory over host Portland on Wednesday night. De'Aaron Fox scored 18 points, Kevin Huerter added 17, and Domantas Sabonis had 15 points and 12 rebounds for the Kings, who missed the playoffs for 16 consecutive seasons since last qualifying during the 2005-2006 campaign. Sacramento had held the longest active playoff drought amongst the 4 major North American professional sports leagues. That dubious distinction now belongs to the New York Jets, who have gone 12 years, yes, 12 years, without reaching the NFL postseason. Kings forward Keegan Murray scored 13 points and made 3 three-pointers to set the NBA rookie record with 188 trays in a season. Murray passed the mark set by Donovan Mitchell in 2017-2018 with the Utah Jazz. Shadon Sharp scored a career-high 30 points and also had 7 rebounds and 7 assists for Portland, which lost for the 10th time in the past 11 games. Kevin Knox II had 12 points and 12 rebounds, and Jabari Walker also scored 12 points for the Trailblazers. Kings 120, Trailblazers 80. Russell Westbrook scored a commanding 36 points and shelved out 10 assists as visiting Los Angeles ended Memphis' 7-game winning streak. Robert Covington scored 27 points while shooting a perfect 7 for 7 from three-point range, and Bones Highland added 20 points as the Clippers won without both of their stars. Kawhi Leonard was out for personal reasons, and Paul George missed his 4th consecutive game due to a knee injury. Ja Morant logged 36 points and 9 assists for the Grizzlies, while Dylan Brooks added 30 points as Memphis lost for just the 2nd time in the past 12 games. Morant returned after a 1-game absence caused by right thigh soreness. Clippers 141, Grizzlies 132. Anthony Davis had 38 points and 10 rebounds, and LeBron James added 25 points to boost Los Angeles to a win against host Chicago. Davis and James were a combined 23 for 39 from the floor and teamed for 17 boards as Los Angeles avenged Sunday's home loss to Chicago. The Lakers won for the 4th time in 5 games to tie New Orleans for 8th place in the Western Conference. Despite losing their 2nd straight, the Bulls maintain a 2-game lead on Washington for the number 10th seed in the East and the final slot in the conference play-in. Nikola Vucevic registered a double-double of 29 points and 12 rebounds for Chicago, but it wasn't enough to pursue a win. Lakers 121, Bulls 110. America's favorite pastime is back, and today marks the start of the MLB season with 15 different matchups taking place this Thursday. The San Francisco Giants will go up against the New York Yankees. The San Diego Padres will take on the Colorado Rockies. The LA Dodgers will face off against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And lastly, the Oakland A's will take on the Los Angeles Angels.
And that is it for today's Sports Roundup. I'm Carlos Reyes. Thanks for watching.
That's all we have for you tonight, and would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Please make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage, and you can find that at ntd.com/California-Today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. And if you could, please send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email at california.today@ntd.com. I'm Bill Thomas, and for all of us here in the newsroom, have a great night.